release of Arnold Schwarzenegger's The Last Stand and the upcoming release of Sylvester Stallone's Bullet to the Head, it looks like these two action stars aren't letting old age slow them down. But what should we expect from these new films now that the actors are more mature and the genre itself has become more technologically advanced and, in some ways, more self-aware of its own spectacle? To answer this question, let's look at the work that Schwarzenegger and Stallone did in the 1980s, the decade that truly defined them as action heroes. Afterward, we'll review The Expendables 2, a blow-em-up, shoot-em-up pick that features both of these stars. For the sake of time, we'll look at one movie each for both of them. The movie should possess the following qualities. 1. It was the actor's highest-grossing action film of the 1980s. 2. The actor played an indestructible protagonist. 3. This protagonist faced a large, even ridiculous amount of enemies. And 4. The setting was stylized but still visually grounded in the real modern world. This means no Conan, no Terminator, and no Rocky. We'll check out Rambo First Blood Part 2 and Commando, released in 1985. Let the cheesy 1980s action begin. Rambo First Blood Part 2 was the sequel to First Blood, released in 1982. The sequel treats such deep topics as post-traumatic stress disorder and re-entry into civilian life after military service as a disease. A disease that can only be cured with explosions.
Helicopter and language qualified.
Vietnam War veteran John Rambo, played by Stallone, goes on a mission to free American prisoners in a Vietnamese POW camp. And along the way, he just happens to refight and win the Vietnam War. That's right, Rambo, an American who hasn't been within Vietnam in years, fights more competently in the jungle than the Vietnamese soldiers. Even worse, all the soldiers are portrayed as wimpy, incompetent, and one-dimensionally evil. Well, at least they make great cannon fodder, or gun fodder, or knife fodder, or whatever object Rambo uses to kill his enemies like a stone-cold machine fodder. Does he consider the implications of reopening the very conflict that scarred him in the first place? Does he even have a shred of humanity left in him? Does he even crack a comedic one-liner? No, no, and no. But Rambo is an American who shows a communist country who was boss during the Cold War. Unfortunately, Rambo First Blood Part 2 lacks a key ingredient that would have greatly improved all of its silliness: humor. On the other hand, Commando brings out excitement and embarrassed laughter from the audience. Schwarzenegger plays John Matrix, retired elite Black Ops commando who just wants to live in peace with his daughter. But absolutely nobody watches a Schwarzenegger film for a domestic drama. Soon, South American criminals kidnap his girl to force him to help an oust dictator. Logically, Matrix launches a one-man war against them all. Like Rambo, Matrix knows that he has to use what he's got to kill his foes gratuitously. But Matrix churns out dumb lines like a cocky comedian who knows that his act is enjoyably horrible.
Don't disturb my friend. He's dead tired.
It still has moments of seriousness, and it doesn't really try to subvert the silliness behind all the muscle pumping, grunting, and killing. It just cracks a smile once in a while, unlike Rambo. Also, Commando doesn't shove too much political implications in our faces. I mean, there's the whole thing about how the Crook's leader wants Matrix to pull a coup on the current benevolent government, and that kind of mirrors the role that the United States played in Latin America during the Cold War. But I'm reading too much subtext in this ridiculous film.
Let's party.
Years later, in 2012, the stars of Rambo and Commando team up in The Expendables 2, which, like its predecessor, absolutely revels in its connection to the 1980s action genre via its cast members. First things first, is The Expendables 2 fun? Well, yes, most of the time. It combines ultra-violence with just a little bit of humor. In a nutshell, a team of tough soldiers, which include Stallone, Schwarzenegger, even Chuck Norris, go on a mission to avenge the death of their friend and stop a criminal mastermind from accessing dangerous weapons. But don't let that synopsis fool you. This movie is closer to the ridiculous spirit of Commando than it is to that of Rambo. Just listen to some of the dialogue.
And I pronounce you man a knife.
Yet it doesn't go far enough. The film attempts serious drama with a dash of tragic romance and a little melodramatic death of one of the heroes, but all that straight-faced stuff doesn't flow with the cartoonish excess that surrounds it. At the end of the day, The Expendables 2 isn't about these older action stars realizing that they're old and that their genre needs a serious sucker punch to the face. It's about older action stars who crack just enough jokes to appear self-aware, yet still go through the tired motions set by films like Rambo and Commando. After looking at Rambo First Blood Part 2, Commando, and The Expendables 2, what should we expect from The Last Stand and Bullet to the Head? Well, for one thing, humor. Humor that goes beyond a couple of jokes and some pop culture references. We don't need a scary movie type parody of action flicks. Instead, we need a film that makes us question everything we thought we knew about the action genre. Like how Monty Python and the Holy Grail skewered all those romantic, chivalrous notions surrounding the tales of King Arthur. That film won't even let you take the idea of a God-ordained mission seriously. This hypothetical satire of action films has to go all the way, intelligently mangling everything related to the genre. The machismo, the racial or ethnic sidekicks, the impossible movie physics, the childish characterizations, everything. Let's hope that in The Last Stand, Bullet to the Head, and similar films of the future, there's an awareness of the mortality and the world-weary wisdom that comes with older age and explosions.